Let the record reflect that we have reconvened with all members present. I ask for those that are able to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing after the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing as we remember people, members of our Borough staff extended family, longtime Madison residents we lost over the last few weeks. Nancy Jean Crossman, a longtime Madison resident, passed away March 10th at her home on Dogwood Drive at the age of 77. Born in Springfield, Illinois in 1947. She graduated from Duquesne, Illinois High School, where she met her future husband, Alan. Went on to earn her bachelor's degree from McMurray College and later a Master of Science in Education from Southern Illinois and postmaster's work at King University. Nancy and Alan were married in 1969 and settled in Madison in 1975 after living several years in California, Massachusetts. They raised their children here, Ross and Allison. She taught special ed over 30 years, mainly within the Madison school system, retired in 2012. Avid reader, she loved theater, enjoyed spending early fall days at the Jersey Shore and Delaware beaches. And despite almost 50 years in Madison, she never forgot her Midwestern roots. She is survived by her husband, Alan, son, Ross, daughter, Allison, and their respective spouses, along with 5 grandchildren. And we also remember Anna Marie Amy Adams, age 88, most recently of Morris Township, passed away on March 14th. Born in Summit, she lived in Madison and raised her family here before moving to Morris Township 23 years ago. Graduated Summit High School, and she worked as a legal secretary in Newark. At a time when women's choices were limited, Amy set the example on how to live a self-directed, fulfilled life, balancing motherhood and a career. In the late 60s, she learned about Montessori teaching method, and she was instrumental in opening the Westmont Montessori School in Mendon with James and Sandra Dwyer. She worked in real estate for over 40 years as a broker, owned and operated 2 offices in Madison, initially Century 21 Amy Adams on Kings Road, and later Adams Associates Realtors on Park Avenue. She cared deeply about helping everyone achieve the dream of owning a home, and she fiercely but ethically negotiated for her clients, both sellers and buyers, and often found both parties were content and satisfied at the end. Very appropriate. The key to the success in real estate is that she built relationships based on trust and respect. Amy was a member of the New Jersey Board of Realtors Ethics Committee and a parishioner at St. Vincent Martyr Church. She is survived by her husband, Kenneth, her children, Kevin Garrett, Dr. Allison Adams. Many know Allison for being very active in Madison, her husband, Terrence, Marinda, and her husband, Andrew, and Shannon, survived by 8 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. We also remember Vivi Manick, who died on March 21st at the age of 88 following a long illness. She's the mother of Chris Manick, the superintendent of the Madison Chatham Joint Meeting and Sewer Treatment Plant. She was born in Estonia, came to the United States through Ellis Island following World War II, and had lived in New York City. Vivi married and moved to Palisades Park, New Jersey, and then later Madison and Chatham for many years before moving to Wharton 10 years ago. She had a long career, retired as bank manager with Wells Fargo, formerly Wachovia Bank in Morristown, Mendham, and Madison branches. She was a world traveler, enjoyed her trips to Europe as well as many trips, including walking with penguins in Antarctica and safari in Kenya and Tanzania, just to mention a few. Survivors include her husband of 63 years, John, her son, Chris, and his wife, Jennifer Manick, who is also an employee of the Joint Meeting, and her other son, John. Let us take a moment to remember Nancy Crossman, Amy Adams, and Vivek Manick, and let us pass our thoughts to the families and friends that they leave behind. Thank you. And before we move on to minutes for approval, and we do have a large crowd tonight and some overflowed into the hallway, we do have a remote set up downstairs if you want to watch your meeting remotely. If you do so, we will be announcing comment time when you can come upstairs to comment. And of course, you're welcome to stay here. Just be careful on where you lean so you're not leaning against any of the portraits or any of the artwork. This is a very special council chambers, one of a kind. And let me ask for a motion for executive minutes of February 26, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion for the regular minutes of February 26, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or any corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Welcome for largest crowd in quite a while. For those who are here for the first time, welcome to, as I said, one of the nicest borough halls in the country. Couple of things going on last 2 weeks. Last Monday was the annual Taste of Madison, and we'll hear a little bit more about that during the Community Affairs report. But as a member of the committee, I can say it was a great night showcasing the restaurants in Madison and a few from our neighboring towns. And I want to thank all the restaurants, our sponsors, and of course any of you here and listening at home who attended the event. And last Thursday, I was a celebrity judge for the annual Kings Road School 4th grade talent show, also known as Kings Road Has Got Talent. As I mentioned, previous years I've been a judge. I think that is the toughest job I've ever had as mayor, because there was plenty of talent. In the show, there was magic, comedy, dance, and a song with a little bit of taekwondo mixed in there. And the singing, to no surprise, was dominated by a theme of Taylor Swift. And not to be forgotten was the excellent greeter at the door, Councilwoman Rachel Ehrlich's son, Julian. All right, we now move on to reports from committees. Public Safety, Council President Range.
Thank you, Mayor. From the Police Department tonight, on March 22nd, Chief Misha met with all Kings Road school classes for the kickoff of Kindness Week. The Chief spoke to classes ranging from kindergarten through the 5th grade to give them some examples of what kindness looks like and to hear from students as to what they do to show kindness and how they are kind to others. The Chief was also invited back on April 26th to have lunch with the students. The Arrive Together program is in full swing. We've reported on this a few times now, and officers and families in Madison are seeing immediate results and getting great feedback from the families that have been referred. The Arrive program began on March 4th and is a program which provides individuals in mental crisis the assistance that they need in real time by teaming up mental health clinician with a responding police officer to dispatch crisis calls. For more information, you can go to rosenet.org and type Arrive Together in the search bar. During the week of March 11th, 2 officers completed the 40-hour CIT, or Crisis Intervention Training. The training provides knowledge on different types of mental disorders and conditions, including schizophrenia, depression, developmental disabilities, and autism. The training develops skills to promote safe encounters with law enforcement by teaching communication and de-escalation techniques, and enables participants to provide information and access to services that can aid these persons in lieu of incarceration. Chief Misha's goal is to have all Madison officers trained in CIT by the end of 2025. As of 2024, the Madison Police Department will have over 1/3 of its department trained in CIT. A few meetings ago, I reported one of our newest police officers, Officer Meter, was made squad leader at his academy class. I'm happy to report that our second officer, who is in the academy right now, has also been selected as squad leader. So congratulations to Officer Rendon, and I'm happy to see these 2 officers showing others how to be leaders in their academy class. From the fire department reports that so far this month, they've responded to 18 general alarms, 9 still alarms, 24 investigations, and 75 medical calls for a total of 126 calls. All 3 probationary career firefighters have received their emergency medical technician licenses. One of them has completed all the training, and the other 2 are near the end of their field training. The Madison Fire Department operates a confined space rescue team. This team specializes in rescues where people could be trapped in tight areas with hazardous atmospheres. These services are provided to Madison, the Madison and Chatham Joint Meeting, and other surrounding areas. In the coming weeks, the 4 newest firefighters will be going to Confined Space Technician School. Members of the Career Division have completed Certified Emergency Vehicle Operator course as well. And in more training news, the Fire Department and the Madison Volunteer Ambulance Corps also started their combined training for EMS services. Recently, all members took place in electronic patient documentation class, as the state of New Jersey requires all patient reports be submitted electronically. And from the Joint Court, the Madison Borough court cases have decreased. Cases issued in February compared to the previous month and compared to February of 2023. Although caseloads have decreased, revenue is up slightly, but this is largely due to the state finally issuing delinquent payment notices for defendants with outstanding balances on their fines. Delinquent payment notices were paused in 2020, so that's 4 years ago, and haven't been sent out until just recently. Since the state is starting to issue these delinquent payment notices again, we anticipate collecting outstanding revenues. And that's all from Public Safety tonight. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. And Finance and Borough Clerk, Ms. Ehrlich.
Thank you, Mayor. This evening we have 3 important steps we need to take as we near the end of our annual budget process. First, we're introducing Ordinance 11-2024, which is an ordinance to establish a cap bank. The state of New Jersey adopted 2 laws that limit municipal spending. The first is a levy cap, which limits our tax increase to 2%, but there are certain exceptions, such as increases in capital. And the second is the appropriations cap, which limits the increase in appropriations to a certain amount. However, if the borough passes an ordinance, such as the one we're introducing tonight, budget appropriations could increase by 3.5%, with the difference being placed in what's called a cap bank. The cap bank holds 2 years of excess appropriations in it. Doing this gives flexibility to future councils should there be a sudden and significant increase in expenses, for instance, rock salt, fuel, methane gas, which we burn in our buildings, or other expenses. In fact, the cap is helping us this year since the budget is increasing by 5.27%. Ordinance 11-2024 will establish that appropriations cap bank, and we will be voting to introduce that ordinance tonight. The second important step we're taking this evening is the introduction of the official budget document. We've had 6 discussions and presentations on the budget during public council meetings. The process is very transparent, with all presentations posted on Rosenet and discussions available for viewing on Borough Video. This budget includes a 1.75% property tax increase, which is the equivalent of about $4.50 a month increase for the average Madison home. Resolution 111-2024 will record our vote to introduce the official budget tonight. After the budget is introduced, the state law mandates that it be available for public viewing for at least 28 days. The document will be available on rosenet.org, at the library, and in the clerk's office. We will then vote to adopt the budget at the council meeting on Monday, April 22nd. The third item this evening is Resolution 118, which is a resolution permitting self-examination of the budget. New Jersey statute mandates that all municipal budgets be reviewed annually. However, fiscally strong and prudent towns like Madison are permitted to be reviewed once every 3 years. This helps us make our budget process easier and frees up state resources so they can focus on more challenged municipalities. Lastly, I'd like to thank tonight all the staff involved in our budget process, including all the department heads and, of course, our Chief Financial Officer, Jim Burnett, who organizes the process. Jim's commitment to clear communication, transparency, and a collaborative process is really exemplary. I also want to thank my colleagues on council for their insights, questions, and comments throughout our months of discussion and review of the budget. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Public Works and Engineering, Mr. Landrigan.
Thank you, Mayor. From Public Works, repaired sewer line breaks that were damaged, repairing sewer line breaks that were damaged by a contractor. Sewer jetting is continuing. Locations are posted on social media and the borough website. The roads department is continuing to patch potholes. Mechanical services are cleaning, repairing, and putting away plows and salting equipment. And finally, the Parks Department is continuing to ready the fields for various spring sports. From engineering, Welby facility improvements, construction is progressing for May restart to meet the summer demand, and other improvements to the building are to be completed in the summer. The utility building roof, construction commenced on Friday, March 22nd. Additional plywood sheathing is required due to conditions of the existing sheathing. The MRC multi-purpose courts work has been completed. Erosion along the path has been addressed with asphalt to stabilize the area. The Memorials Trails Phase 1 work was completed. Reimbursement from the county has been submitted. Grant application for Phase 3 has been submitted and approved by Morris County. Scheduling to be coordinated with hazardous tree removal. Library interior. Architects are reviewing submittals and invoicing. Work is progressing well. Issues resolved include the fire alarm system. Museum of Early Trades, construction started on November 22nd, on November 2002, with historical building architects reviewing submittals and invoicing. Project is nearing completion. The Cook Avenue parking lot, plans have been revised to reduce the scope and cost. Bids are due March 28th. Dodge Field Playground, a grant application has been submitted to Green Acres Program for Jake's Law. The grant would cover approximately 75% of the construction costs. Grant award announcement is anticipated in April. Construction is now scheduled to commence in early July, and it's approximately 3 months construction time. From, let's see, this is, okay, the Madison Environmental Committee. And Madison Environmental Committee Echo Yard Survey will be available through the upcoming newsletter, utility bills, and online. The survey will gather input on sustainable programs from Madison residents and community members. They ask you to visit the Green Fair and Native Plant Sale at Madison Green and Clean on Saturday, April 27th from 9 to 2 p.m. And finally, Madison residents can order native plants from the Great Swamp Watershed Association from April 1st to the 19th. From the Shade Tree Management Committee, the Spring Street Tree Program is underway. 94 letters are being sent to residents who will have a street tree planted by their house. Trees will be delivered to DPW on April 21st. DPW will be planting the trees during April and May. We ask residents to get a new tree to make a special effort. We ask residents who get a new tree to make a special effort to water them during dry spells. New Jersey Forestry is providing Madison with 100 tree seedlings. They will be available for pickup on April 12th in front of Borough Hall from 12 to 4 p.m. Please invest in the future tree canopy of Madison by planting one in your yard for the next generation to enjoy. Finally, Madison's Arbor Day celebration will be held on Saturday, April 27th as a start to the Madison Green and Clean Day. This year's Shade Tree Board will be honoring the Department of Public Works for all the good things they do for Madison. More information on the program will be forthcoming. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Utilities, Mr. Alan Putis.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome residents and guests. From the water utility, along with the normal maintenance and operations, the water utility dug and replaced 2 curb boxes. There was a frozen line that they unfroze and installed a new valve there. They completed the interior painting of D-well. The meter replacement project around the borough for commercial residential properties continues on our end, along with the outside contractor. About 10% of the community has already been taken care of. We probably have a couple more years left to finish the project completely. Well-Tech diagnosis trouble with the VFD, the variable frequency displacement well, and we're waiting on a contractor to begin the work this week to correct the problem. B-well redevelopment and renovations are still pending as we coordinate with the contractor to start work. From the electric utility, on March 11th, the department replaced 2 poles due to storm damage on Cook Avenue and Community Place. Power was out from 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. The entire department that was available was there resolving the problem Dowry Roofing has started the replacement of the roof on the water and light plant building, which is well overdue. It was a contractor delay, and it will be very nice to renovate the inside after that's finished. Crews are working on new pole sets for Lorraine Road Circuit Tie Point project, 28 Walnut and Community Place Housing Development, and 286 Main Street, which is the Madison Mall Apartments. They're also performing infrastructure upgrades with these projects. They are continuing daily work orders consisting of daily substation inspections, truck and equipment maintenance, markouts, residential service disconnects for demo or reconstruction, new service upgrades. Tree issues are on all of our wires and utility poles. Street light and post lamp repairs, emergency calls, repairs. The lamp posts in the central business district have been upgraded and that project is completed. The lamp posts that are going to be replaced around the train station are awaiting interior fixtures to be complete for installation. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Community Affairs, Ms. Honahan.
Thank you, Mayor. The Downtown Development Commission had partnered on the Taste of Madison, as you referred to, and it was a great success. Thank you to all the sponsors. It was a wonderful showing of community. And thanks to the organizers from the DDC, Rotary, and the Madison Chamber. The next meeting for the Downtown Development Commission is on Thursday, April 18th at 7:15 in the Hartley Dodge Memorial. Public is invited to attend. The new Madison Farm and Artisan Market will be held on Saturdays from May 25th through December 14th in the Prospect Street parking lot from 10 till 3. We're looking forward to greater participation closer to the heart of Madison. For more information, you can visit the DDC website. The Downtown Development Commission will also be hosting the Madison Green and Clean, which used to be known as May Day. That will be on April 27th from 9 to 2, and the rain date is on the Sunday following that, April 28th. It will be kicked off with an Arbor Day celebration and will also feature eco-friendly initiatives. More information can be found on the website. The Chamber of Commerce is extending Find Shelley the Easter egg scavenger hunt through the March 29th because it was too rainy for kids to go look for the Easter egg. So that will continue through the 29th, and the Easter Fun Fest will take place on March 30th from 11 to 12:30. That usually causes a little chaos downtown, so be careful. Ladies' Night is scheduled for May 9th. From the Madison Community Arts Center, there are multiple things happening. This is the last week of the art exhibit there, so take advantage of that through March 30th. The Community Arts Center has also announced funding from the SMART Foundation for the New Jersey Women Playwrights Program, which will support the development of 9 new works by women playwrights. And that first reading of those will begin on April 14th. They are also announced the Mostly Madison Dance Festival, which will begin on April 25th and run through May 5th. We'll have 9 different nights of dance and plays. For further information about all of the things happening at the Madison Community Arts Center, you can visit Madison Arts NJ.
Thank you. And Health, Mr. Forte.
Thank you, Mayor. From the Health Department, free COVID tests are available to residents at the Health Department. The Health Department is also offering COVID vaccines to all residents free of charge. For information, please visit www.westfieldnj.gov/health for more information. We have an upcoming clinic on March 28th, and registration is also available on the website. COVID activity is low, but influenza activity is actually high, with lots of reports of respiratory illness. The Health Department reminds residents to stay home if you're sick, wash hands frequently, and avoid touching your face. Be on the lookout for the Morris County Community Health Survey. The Health Department will use this survey to gain information about Madison and how we can improve health outcomes in the borough. April 1st to 7th is National Public Health Week. For more information, look at the web at www.nphw.org. One of this year's themes is civic engagement. Residents can continue to be engaged by completing the survey. That's the Morris County Community Health Survey again when it's rolled out. Pet licensing is still ongoing, and all cats and dogs over 6 months of age should be licensed within the borough. For more information, look to rosenet.org. Thank you.
Thank you. Now move on to communications and petitions.
None received, Mayor.
All right, now we're on to the first of two invitations for public comment. We do have a lot of new people here tonight, so this one is limited to only our discussion item and the items on the consent agenda. So I will go through the list of things you may comment on now. If you want to comment on other things, there'll be a second comment period a little bit later in the meeting. So these are our discussion item is also a resolution related to the affordable housing legislation that has been passed in Trenton. And these are the resolutions you may comment on. This will also be part of the consent agenda when we get to that, so you understand what's in there. Resolution 112, authorizing contract with Clark Hiddens for professional services regarding the former Madison Masonic Lodge, now the, at least call for now, the Heller Center, thanks to a very generous donation. And this is a not to exceed amount of $90,800. Resolution 113 is appointing Lisa Quinn to part-time position of technical assistant to the construction code official. And this is in the building department, and this is increase of pay from $26.53 an hour to $38.45 an hour to reflect a new position. Resolution 114 is appointing Renee Stoya to the position of substitute crossing guard at $21.45 an hour. Resolution 115 is approving use of Gibbons Park by the Garden Club of Madison on May 4th. Resolution 116 is authorizing use of the community pool parking lot by the Garden Club of Madison on April 22nd. Resolution 117 is awarding contract to Pinsky and Snyder for the preventative maintenance and repair of HVAC equipment, base bid in the amount of $56,300. Resolution 118, self-examination of the budget resolution, and that was outlined by Councilwoman Ehrlich. Resolution 119 is a resolution thanking United States Representative Mikey Sherrill for securing federal funding to save the Drew Forest, and this was a grant towards a purchase of $4.1 million for that. And then Resolution 120 is requesting amendments to Assembly Bill 4, Senate Bill 50 regarding affordable housing. So those are the items you may comment on now. Again, if you want to comment on anything else, that'll come up later in the meeting. If you want to comment on any of those resolutions, step to the lectern, you state your name, your address, and the resolution that you're commenting on. And we ask that you try to keep your comments to 3 minutes, and we give you a 1-minute grace. Anyone wishing to comment on those resolutions, please step forward. Claire.
I'm Claire Whitcomb, 12 Fairwood Road. I'm here as a point of pride to comment on the federal funding from Mikey Sherrill and Cory Booker. And this is really just extraordinary. It's an extraordinary testament to the excellence of the borough in fearless networking. It's also a testament to Friends of the Drew Forest for 3 years of not having as much fun as we could have had. But also, I have to say that our representatives are impressive. I mean, I've seen Mikey Sherrill at some events, and she'll come up to me and say, "What can I do for the forest?" I don't even think to bother her, but she's so concerned about this. And it's not just because it's a nice forest, it's an asset that other towns don't have. It's an exceptional aquifer recharge zone. It's got, it's been restored for so long that it has biodiversity that doesn't exist. It has this intact ecosystem, and it's, if we slice it and dice it and compromise it, we're going to lose an incredible asset for Morris County. So thank you all.
And that was a comment on Resolution 119. Thank you.
My name is Mary Jane Lund. I live at 10 Highview Terrace, also the home of the Friends of the Drew Forest. But I'm here, that's right, that's where all the mail goes, right? Not only would I like to say thank you to Mikey Sherrill, but I'd also like to say thank you to Senator Booker. I had the opportunity to work with him in my previous life in 35 years in Essex Union and Passaic counties, working with underprivileged children. And I can tell you that I felt so good about it that, yes, we have support from Essex County, we have support from Union County and Passaic County, and hopefully all of those children will have the opportunity to someday experience the Drew Forest.
And thank you very much, and that was again Resolution 119. Anyone else wishing to comment? Lydia, welcome.
All right, I'd like to speak on the same resolution. My name is Lydia Chambers. I'm at 87 Millbrook Road in New Vernon, New Jersey, and I want to commend you for working with Mikey Sherrill and encouraging her to be supportive of the Drew Forest, as the Friends of the Drew Forest have been. I'm co-chair of the Friends of the Drew Forest, by the way. And then she did an amazing job shepherding it through the process in DC, which I'm sure was not very easy. Everybody speaks about the Drew Forest and its critical importance as a recharge zone for the Berry Valley Aquifer, but I just want to talk a little bit about its importance in terms of its native habitat. And this is incredibly important. We're facing a biodiversity crisis, and our bugs and our birds and our bees the populations of them have drastically diminished in the last 50 years, and they need native plants to eat. That's the basis of the food chain, and which keeps our ecosystem healthy. So we need to protect native plant areas like the Drew Forest. So it's incredibly critical for that reason. And in addition to Mikey Sherrill understanding that, she's working towards obviously protecting the Drew Forest, but she's also introduced a bill in the federal government called Building Native Habitats at Federal Facilities Act. So in two ways, she is showing how important it is to preserve native habitats. And I hope everybody and you all are appreciative of that importance of doing that here in Madison. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to comment on any of the resolutions, please step forward.
Good evening, Colette Kreskis, 7 Albright Circle in Madison. I just want to say, after living in Madison and experiencing the Drew Forest for many, many years, my children, my family, etc., I thank Mikey Sherrill. I certainly thank this council, the mayor and the council, for your support of our efforts. It's really meaningful, as my colleagues have explained. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to comment on a resolution? Seeing none, I close this part of the meeting, and just also want to reinforce that a big thank you to Congressman Mikey Sherrill and U.S. Senator Cory Booker, but this would not have been possible without the support of the Friends of the Drew Forest. We just heard recently from someone who's aware of what's going on and lives in Chester and said, I haven't seen the signs out there. So it's we have a great reach. Appreciate it. We now move on to introduction of our 2024 Cap Bank Ordinance and the Budget and Tax Resolution. I call up Ordinance 11-2024 for first reading. I ask the Borough Clerk to read said ordinance by title.
Ordinance 11-2024, calendar year 2024 ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriations limit and to establish a cap bank.
Mayor, I move Ordinance 11-2024.
Second.
And Rachel already did a great explanation, but any other comments on this? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Range?
Yes.
Mr. Harlan Poutis?
Yes.
Ms. Honahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forte?
Yes.
Before we move on to budget introduction, just a little additional background. We'll get Jim up here to do a presentation, and we'll get the introduction underway. As Rachel Ehrlich has already stated, this is the culmination of our 2024 budget work. 7th presentation, which is probably 6 more than you would see in most municipalities. Jim will present the official budget as he was directed to produce at the last council meeting by consensus, which basically came down to a 1.75 increase on the tax levy and more dollars for capital. It should also be noted that to achieve this goal, we have very tight expense lines, such as health insurance, which on a budget level is going up by less than 1%, but on a reality level, much more than that. So it's great work on the administration to make a tight budget so we can control costs or the taxes. Once Jim goes through this, we will have the statement read by the Borough Clerk, and then the motion to approve the resolution, and then will be council discussion. Public discussion on the budget happens in 4 weeks at our April 22nd meeting, as mentioned, or you can also comment on it during the general comment period. So, Jim?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Appreciate the time. As discussed, we've had a number of presentations. Transparency-wise, if we go to the next slide, all the information is available on the annual budget process page. Multiple years are on there. And before I even go to the next slide, I appreciate the kind words from Councilwoman Ehrlich. I want to recognize Chrissy Mahler, who's sitting in the corner there, who doesn't want to be embarrassed, but I'm going to embarrass her because she did a tremendous amount of help with me on the budget, and I really appreciate all her help. So we go to the next slide, you see the hearing schedule, and we are now at March 25th, which is the introduction of the budget. It will be on display and available for review for 28 days, and then we'll have the adoption of the of the budget on April 22nd, the hearing and adoption. The next slide, I'm not going to go into detail on this. This is a slide you've seen before. It talks about goals, important questions in summary. We're looking to limit tax increase, maintain services, maintain funding for capital programs, and ensure long-term stability by not causing any systemic issues. We go to the next slide. This is actually from 2021 when we had the issues with the pandemic, and I just want to take a few moments to kind of remind Council of what the challenges were like just a few years ago. In that year, Maplewood began their budget process talking about an 8% tax levy increase. If you go to the next slide, this is from the Daily Record, the Bergen Record, and it talks about how towns were really challenged with COVID. Some towns laid off, some towns furloughed. Madison didn't do any of that. If we go to the next slide, there were some towns that actually had to issue debt to pay the bills. They, in essence, had to issue a mortgage to pay the groceries. Garfield is one of the towns that had to do that. They had to issue a $2 million relief. Other towns had to issue declare a financial emergency, which is a challenge and then puts you on state review for 5 years in a row. As we talked about, there's a self-exam resolution on this evening because we're in a fiscal position where we don't need to be in state review. And then the final slide comes from just the presentation from a month and a half ago, talking about about revenues, and that things were very challenged in 2020 and 2021. You can see parking revenues were down to almost nothing. They are finally back. Court revenues have still not come back. If you look at 2019, court revenues were $173,000. We're still not back to those levels. Interest income has certainly helped fill the gap, and that is a main reason how we're able to make this budget work this evening. So the next slide, please, Michael. As discussed, this budget includes no reduction in services, the borough taking over emergency medical services, the ambulances. I think people have heard that. The fire department's going to be taking over that. Fund balance is stabilized across the 3 budgets that we have, municipal, electric, and water. We're also able to set aside more money in capital. We're still not back to the 2016 to 2018 time when we had $3.8 million in capital, and we'll talk about that in a minute. New construction has helped generate additional tax revenue. We've reduced our reliance to fund municipal operations with the electric utility. That's something we have to do because our costs are going to be going up next year and the year after when new electric contracts come in. We're compliant with strategic planning guidelines, and we're looking to fully fund the MRC carport. And as was reported by Councilman Harlan Kudus, the water meter replacement project should hopefully be completed to a large extent later on this year. I'm looking at Jim Finelli because I know it's going to take us years to get the last 300 or 400 meters replaced. As requested by Council at the March 11 meeting, the budget that I presented there was a 2% increase. Council asked that that be reduced to 1.75, and they asked that the general capital appropriation be increased by $100,000. The reason we did that is because we are looking at purchasing a fire truck. We were anticipating buying it in 2 years. However, we're hearing that it's going to take 2 years to actually get the fire truck. So the hope is that we can have enough funds in general capital, and we'll be able to make this determination later on in the year that we can appropriate or set aside the funds and then go out and order it. We can't place an order until we actually have proof that we've set aside the funds. As we go to the next slide, these are some of the concerns that we have. There's going to be discussion later on this evening about affordable housing. There's a tremendous amount of uncertainty on affordable housing with this new legislation that just passed. Clearly our obligation is going to increase, and how we're going to deal with that will be dealt with by council, but it is something that could cost the town a lot of dollars depending on the strategy that the council decides to go. We're going to need funds if we're able to save the Drew Forest. Cost of electricity going up, and there are other items here that are listed. I'm not going to go through all of them. They were mentioned before. So the next is a lot of numbers. I apologize. This is online. Maybe you have X-ray specs or something, but it's a lot of numbers. I wanted to show 2020 through 2024 so you can see some of the numbers that changed. If you take a look at the second line down, you can see in 2020 municipal revenues were $3.9 million. We're still not back to that level. COVID really caused an issue, and you can see in 2021 and 2022 those numbers dropped to 2.9 and 2.8 million. We're finally getting back to pre-COVID levels. There's other items I want to point out that based on the last presentation that I gave, item B3, which is property taxes on existing ratables, that was changed from going up from 2% to 1.75%. And capital improvement, which is B32 towards the bottom, like fourth line from the bottom, that was increased by $100,000. As I said before, 2019, I couldn't put any more numbers or rows on this without making everybody's eyes pop out. But 2018, 2017, 2016 all had $3.8 million for capital improvement. That's for trucks, that's for roads, that's for sewer, that's for sidewalks, that's for equipment, that's for DPW equipment and alike, radio systems, security systems, all those types of things are funded out of general capital. We're just getting back this year from $3 million last year to $3.6 million. So those are the final thing that changed from the last presentation to now is a number of grants were finalized. They always come in around this time, whether it's a Clean Communities grant or other grants that come in. We had to appropriate them. When we have grants, it's basically budget neutral. Money's going in on the revenue side, money's coming in on the appropriation side. We get $50,000 for storm sewer improvements, or we get $12,000 for a sustainability project. It goes out on the revenue side, it goes out on the appropriation side. It's neutral, but that gets reflected in two lines on the budget here. We go to the next slide. The electric utility just had a small slight change in operations from the March 11 presentation, but it's basically the same document. And then the last one is the water utility. There was a really small $4,000 change in the line on the water utility. So it's basically unchanged from what we presented at the last council meeting. Finally, I just wanted to talk about the services that Madison receives. I think our services are great. I live in this town. I know a lot of people live in this town, and I think we're all proud of the services, and I think a lot of people, maybe not everybody, realizes that the type of services you get in Madison, you don't get in other towns. Taking over the ambulance is a prime example. That's just someone being a little too close to the artwork, sorry. So in any event, our fire department, fire safety, police department, crossing guards, garbage, recycling pickup, yard waste, and leaf pickup. If you live in Chatham Township, you don't get that. If you live in Chatham Township, you may not get water. You may have to have a pump. You may have to have sewer or a septic. Recreations and park maintenance. I think our parks are wonderful. I'm biased. I grew up in town. Senior citizen services. This is the general budget includes this. Sewage treatment, health department, fire hydrants and street lights, our free public library, plowing and maintenance of the roads, and then all the administrative functions. So for the average home, which has an assessed value of $667,000, that's not how much you would buy that house for. You probably buy that house for about $1 million, because the assessed value versus market value, that's a long conversation if anybody wants to have it with me. But that house that's worth about $1 million will paid in 2023, paid about $3,082.46 in municipal taxes, $13,700 in total taxes. The increase in this budget, if approved, will be 1.75% increase. That house, and it's a specific house that's valued at that amount. That's about the average in town. That house will have an increase in municipal taxes of $4.50. That doesn't include county. That doesn't include county or school board. So with that, Mayor,
All right, here. So what we'll do is we'll go to the statement from the clerk on the budget introduction.
Okay. Upon introduction and adoption, the 2024 budget and tax resolution will be published by summary in the Madison Eagle and the Morris County Daily Record on March the 28th, 2024, with a public hearing date set for Monday, April the 22nd at 8 p.m., at which time and place all interested individuals will have an opportunity to be heard, and there will be consideration for final adoption. A copy of the budget as introduced will be filed in the Madison Public Library and the County Library and posted on the borough's website for public review.
I have a motion for Resolution 111-2024, resolution of the Borough of Madison adopting the 2024 budget and tax resolution.
Second.
Council discussion. Tom?
Me first? Eric, you had to say something? Oh, yeah, okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Burnett, can I ask you a question while you're over there?
He'll have
Time for questions, ma'am.
yeah, we can ask questions, but Jim will have to return back to the.
I'm sorry, Jim. I didn't forewarn you.
He was about
Yeah.
50 steps short of his goal for today, anyway. So we're okay.
No, I was like talking to you, Jim, and asking you questions. So the one thing that hasn't gone back up in your presentation is the court revenue. So what does the court revenue consist of primarily?
it's parking tickets, it's other type of tickets, that's the majority of the court.
So that's what it is, just
Yeah.
violations of some sort.
Violations and other revenues that are collected by the, yeah.
Right, so people are parking better and maybe not speeding as much or whatever, right? So we don't know if that will ever come back.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was a pattern that it was always at that level before anyway. And the debt service of 2.24 million, that entails, sorry, Jim.
Presentation to the Eagle. Take it back. Sorry, I'll give it back to you.
So the debt service.
Debt service, yes, sir, go ahead.
So what's in that?
So the debt service, so there's multiple debt services that the borough has. For example, the MRC is not in here. The MRC is paid, thank you for asking this question. Good question.
Good.
And you know part of the answer here, but it's good to flesh this out. The MRC is paid out of the Open Space Trust Fund. So that's paid out of that portion. The debt service here is the debt service for the renovation of this building that occurred about 12 years ago, the construction of the police department building, which I think was about 12 years ago, for purchase of a fire truck, and then the debt service for the joint meeting, which is our joint sewage treatment plant in Chatham. So debt that is collected and incurred there is paid through the municipal budget.
Okay. And a lot of the MRC debt, which is not going through this budget, is also being funded by some grants. I know you guys are very good every year getting grant money.
That is, thank you. Yep, good,
Right.
yeah. You're teeing these up, Tom, I apologize. Yes, so the Open Space Trust Fund, but we also are very fortunate that we've received Green Acre grant funds for the land. So the majority of the land that we purchased, I don't remember the number, Ray probably does, of the majority of the purchase price for the land of the MRC has been funded by non-municipal dollars, non-tax dollars. It's just the improvements, it's the turf field and the turf field complex and other things there that we're paying for through that debt service. That debt side, I know you're gonna ask me the question, I don't know when it comes due. I'm gonna say part of it comes due in like 2027
Sure.
for the field.
Right.
And but of course the field's gonna probably reach its end of its useful life at that point in time, and we'll be looking to.
Yeah. Well, we've been saving money for that anyway.
We've been putting money aside
Putting
for
money
that.
aside, too.
You know,
Very sure.
prices are up, so we may not be able to fully pay for it with the reserved money, but yes, we've been reserving user fees and rental fees. So on that, all that's been put in reserve.
Great. And I also noticed that the health insurance hasn't gone up that much.
So
It's gone up, but
the
reasonable.
cost is going up for us by 5%, but the appropriation, we think I think the best term is to use a scalpel and going in and recognizing that we're able to save a little money there. So that's where we're able to save money there to then dedicate more funds to some of the other lines that really went up significantly. Salaries, the library, which is a long discussion. If anybody wants to understand, the library is funded through a state formula process, so it just comes to us, and that went up by 7%. Trying to get that capital improvement up by $600,000 this year. So some of the other expenses that went up significantly were funded by us being more judicious in the way we managed the other budget lines.
Yeah, it seems like a great balance, Jim. And the one slide that you showed everybody about the services that they get from the borough, I think that's very important to recognize that we have a pretty good quality of life because we're able to manage all this. So, kudos out to you guys at the administration level, Rachel, helping out with the finance committee. Thank you.
We'll take other comments. Just one thing to reinforce. As Jim mentioned, the library funding is mandated by state. We actually were doing an extra $100,000 ever since we started. We shifted the policy to make sure that every borough entity was charged for electricity. That has been eliminated, so any optional funding is out this year, correct? On the library, so we're at the state mandated amount.
Correct.
All right. Other comments? We can come. Are we? All right. Rachel?
I want to say again, thank you, Jim, for leading us through this. Thank you for being open to the various comments and suggestions. You've been so collaborative working with input from the council members. And I know that this is, we've been doing this since December, and we finally arrived at this point where we introduced the budget. I'm sure that's like a sigh of relief for you. But it is fascinating to me to hear from all of our department heads. All of our chiefs come, our superintendents, they tell us about their goals and accomplishments. It is so eye-opening, and for anyone here who's attending tonight that hadn't had a chance to see those presentations, either view the slideshows or the video, you can learn so much about what we get done in Madison by viewing those on rosenet.org or on our video channel. It's exciting that we can do as much as we do here to make sure that we maintain a high level of services and capital improvements, and the fact that we have such a transparent process to make all of that visible to the public is outstanding. And I just want to commend you for, over time creating a process where so much information is shared. So thank you for that.
Well said. Anything, Eric?
Thanks, Mayor. I just think it's worth sort of repeating that this budget is a high-value budget. All those services that come through that other communities don't get from their municipalities. It is also a testament to the group here, Jim, Ray, and others who work through this process, that we can have a budget where our expenses, many of which are well outside of our control, go up in excess of 5%, and we're able to constrain the increase in our tax levy to 1.75%. And do that in a year where we're planning to set ourselves up to obtain another piece of new fire apparatus. And Jim mentioned the debt service on the fire truck. That was not engine 3 that we just got like last year. That was one, 2008 or something, even further back. So we've been able to fund those sorts of things with these types of budgets over the last many years. So when we do have a big ticket item, this fire truck may be $1.2 million. We don't have to go out and bond that for the rest of the decade or for 20 years and have councils, 25 years from now going, hey, remember when those guys bonded for that fire truck that was at the end of its life? So I think, just the value and the prudent nature of this budget can't be overstated. Thanks.
Thank you. Other, Bob?
Yeah, I mean, I had a whole list of things that I was going to say, but you know me, I'm not too great on words here. But one thing I will say is this budget keeps in line with the Madison tradition of recognizing your challenges today, and they're great in putting together a budget, because expenses are going up. But more so, it's keeping the average citizen in Madison in mind, because every one of them are challenged with meeting their everyday expenses. And if we don't keep our budget in line, that 1.75% increase would be a lot higher. So this is a realistic budget, it's a sensitive budget, and it keeps in line with Madison's tradition of being an honest and respectful budget. Thank you, Mayor.
Melissa and John, would you like to add anything while we're coming around?
I would just add that I think 1.75 is relatively reasonable given all the services that we're providing, and it's difficult to get to this point, especially with costs increasing as they are in an inflationary environment. I just think it was a testament to a lot of work by a lot of people. It's my first budget, and I'll be proud to support it.
Yeah, I mean, echoing much of what council members have said, I think thank you for the hard work and for making it transparent. I, for one, have learned quite a lot from the presentations. And to reflect on what it really includes, it's not a lot of extras, right? But it does meet the expectations of our community and what we expect as services as citizens here. So thank you for making that happen with minimal financial impact.
I just want to say, Mayor, I want to thank my daughter Paige in Indiana, my sister Debbie in Tennessee, my niece Peyton in Texas, and my niece Lucy in Colorado, who are all foregoing watching the finale of The Bachelor to watch the budget presentation.
There we go.
Appreciate them there. So.
Excellent.
And Pete Rosen, maybe he's not watching.
Yep. All right, on that note, call for roll call vote, please.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Range?
Yes.
Mr. Harlan Budis?
Yes.
Ms. Honahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forte?
Yes.
Okay, we now move on to agenda discussions. As mentioned before, we only have one discussion item, which is affordable housing legislation. I will tee this up with some comments, and Council President Range will share kind of a synopsis of the resolution, and we can have a full discussion. But I think that I share the sentiments of the Council when I say we welcome that the state legislation finally taking action, but we do have strong concerns with the bill as it was approved. So that's why we have this resolution on the consent agenda sharing these concerns. It is our plan to capture suggestions from this body and others so we can approve the bill and work as a partner to answer the great need. Again, we're not fighting the concept. We just want to make sure it's done right. For those that do listen to WNYC, in particular the Brian Lair Show, you might have heard a longtime listener, first-time caller on Friday known as Mayor Bob. And yes, that was me. And so I will share some additional remarks as I shared on the, in addition to what I shared on the radio on Friday. And if you want to listen to capture that, you can go to WNYC.org and look up the Brian Lair Show. And they do have it broken down segments on the Friday show. But this is an op-ed piece that I've submitted to the NJ.com Star Ledger, which may be running later this week, so please bear with me, but I think it bears sharing. One of the greatest challenges facing New Jersey is housing affordability. Homes for frontline workers, laborers, starting teachers, and many others who we count on. For at least 5 years, mayors, including myself, have been asking the state legislature to take action to remove the process from the courts. The good news is they proposed legislation to replace COA, Council on Affordable Housing. The bad news is that a seriously flawed bill A4 S50 was fast-tracked through the State House and adopted without significant municipal input. And I go on to say, and you already know this, but I am the mayor of Madison and incoming president of the New Jersey Conference of Mayors. And Madison is one of the few small towns in the state with a housing authority, which is something we're very proud of. We cut the ribbon on our first affordable housing units when Mount Laurel was just a suburban town and not a judicial doctrine. We have always approached affordable housing as a moral and not a legal obligation. Yet this legislation has me very worried. New Jersey, with its 564 municipalities, does not make it easy to do anything, and affordable housing is no exception. To be successful, we need a program that considers regional needs while meeting the diverse makeup of each community, certainly a major undertaking. No professional would ever suggest that it makes sense to create plans in areas as small as 2 square miles or even smaller, but that's exactly what we have to do in the home rule capital of the world. During the time when COA was functioning, there were bad actors, municipalities, who did everything possible to avoid doing their fair share. But for the most part, towns stepped up and met their obligation. In the post-COA years, spanning almost a decade, towns across the state collectively spent millions of dollars in legal and court fees defending their housing plans. This was millions that did not build a single affordable housing unit. Reinstatement of COA, or alternate legislation action, was necessary, and there's no doubt we need a structure to address the housing challenge and a system that works. But let's be clear, it will be the 564 municipalities that will answer the need for housing, and it will be the 564 municipalities that will feel the impact if we get it wrong. And there is no doubt that it is municipalities, not the state, who will bear the cost in direct dollars and impact. The state appropriated $16 million for the HMFA and DCA for implementation, but not a penny for municipalities. This unfunded mandate will result in property tax increases throughout the state for years to come. And this legislation is different than most, as it is difficult to create mistakes after implementation. Once in place, the money spent, aquifer recharge land lost, the infrastructure pushed beyond capacity, the poorly planned developments are permanent, when there could have been a better way to provide affordable housing. One of the issues of S50A4 was that it moved too fast. Amendments marginally improved the original bill, but we need a full analysis of its impact on our municipalities. In that light, we should also be asking the question, is the only way to solve the housing crisis through build, baby, build? There are not enough financial resources to meet the full need through 100% affordable housing projects, and the most densely populated state in the union cannot support filling the need through solely building 4 market units to get 1 affordable unit. There are certainly other creative solutions that should be considered. For example, recognizing towns whose housing stock is affordable. And yes, they do exist in New Jersey, not in Morris County, I'll concede that, for the most part. Or giving credit for communities who have a strong rental voucher, Section 8 programs. It is the involvement of partners, such as the state, nonprofit affordable advocates, and yes, developers that will have a supporting role in answering the call for affordable housing, but it will be the commitment from municipalities that will actually put those in quality homes. When there is development, there must be affordable housing, but forced overdevelopment, poor planning practices is no way to answer the affordable housing crisis. I've seen mayors on both sides of the aisle united in their messaging. There is a universal understanding that we cannot turn our back on the need for affordable housing, but as the saying goes, if you're not at the table, you'll be on the menu. So let's get the municipalities to the table. If we are to be successful, we need to work together on better solutions. And I ask that we take the time to get this right. Let's bring the municipalities and legislators together to review the impact of the bill at the local level. We can then propose new legislation to improve S50A4. There are families across the state waiting for affordable, quality homes, and there are 9 million residents expecting us to be good stewards of our great state. So that's what I've shared, and I'll ask Eric to follow it.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's quite extensive, but I think there are a number of highlights that we should be sharing this evening. This is a portion of Resolution 120-2024, which is on our consent agenda tonight. Whereas Madison has a long and positive history of building affordable housing units throughout our community, and whereas Madison is one of only 3 towns in Morris County to establish a public housing authority. Whereas the Madison Housing Authority has been in existence for over 50 years, building hundreds of affordable rental units. And whereas Madison established an affordable housing corporation over 30 years ago. Madison believes that providing affordable housing is a moral and not just legal obligation. And whereas Madison is currently building a state-of-the-art 44-unit affordable housing development on Walnut and Community Place that will be a statewide model for energy efficiency, climate-friendly building features in a municipal development where 100% of the units will be occupied by low and moderate income families. Whereas in lieu of reinstituting COA, Governor Murphy and the New Jersey legislature adopted A4 and S50 without significant municipal input or consultation. Whereas the legislation is very flawed, seriously flawed, and provides zero funding to municipalities to meet these enhanced obligations, which will increase local property taxes for the foreseeable future. Whereas the legislation does not address the enormous financial burdens on towns to comply with their Round 3 obligations, which is the round we're currently in, before unilaterally imposing a very substantial additional burden to towns for Round 4, which starts in July 2025. Whereas the legislation requires municipalities to create a realistic opportunity for satisfaction of their fair share without taking into account how many affordable units can realistically be achieved throughout traditional inclusionary zoning, where generally 1 out of every 5 units must be affordable. Whereas the A4 S50 bill lacks any analysis of the economic impacts of the bill, but will set a mandate for billions of dollars in construction in the state, requiring affordable housing in excess of 40% of all the units permitted in a given year. And whereas in New Jersey, local governments and schools must bear many of the direct costs associated with increases for infrastructure, education, traffic, public safety, and other demands created by new development. Whereas, in stark contrast to the purported goal of A4 and S50 to reduce litigation, this bill dramatically proliferates litigation by providing many opportunities to sue the subject municipality and through other means. Whereas A4 and S50 bill reduces and in some cases completely eliminates affordable housing bonus credits and creates an overcomplicated and difficult process to obtain the bonus credits that are still available under the current bill. Whereas A4 S50 bill creates unfair requirements and ambiguity when it comes to the vacant land adjustment process, which will lead municipalities like Madison to lack vacant land being required to produce more affordable housing units than is practical. Whereas the Office of Legislative Services has not evaluated the formula required by A4 and S50 for calculating a municipality's 4th round or prospective need obligation for its magnitude. I promise I'm going to skip a couple of these pieces here. Whereas A4 and S50 subjects municipalities to litigation not only as they seek approval for their housing element and fair share plans, but also even after they secure approval for these plans. And whereas under current laws, a municipality would have the right to rely on their fair share number that COA provides, however, under this legislation, a municipality would only have a presumption of validity that the number that the DCA provides to the municipality is appropriate and that Fair Share Housing Center, a deep-pocketed developer or any other interested party could seek to overturn that presumption through litigation. Whereas the A4 S50 bill replaces a straightforward system, which frankly was a little flawed too, that's not it's my editorial comment, by which a municipality could secure bonus credits for up to 20% cap with highly complicated system for securing these bonuses. Whereas as a result of the pronounced lack of due diligence, the bill will likely force taxes to increase dramatically and will foster serious overdevelopment, creating unreasonable burdens in our schools, public services, roads, sewers, water infrastructure, natural resources, open spaces, and the taxpayer. Whereas the legislature clearly can and should upgrade affordable housing policies in our state, however, this legislation is not the answer. And if we adopt this tonight, we will send a copy of this resolution to Governor Murphy, all state legislators, and all Morris County municipalities. Thank you.
Other comments? I'll just, to wrap up, a couple of things. As I said on the radio on Friday, that affordable housing is at a crisis level. And it is the obligation across the state to answer that call. For generations, New Jersey has actually had policies in place that made it difficult for people to move up through red line and other things. And it is through affordable housing a chance for someone in low quality, substandard housing, thank you, substandard housing, poor school district and so on, has an opportunity to really find the American dream in quality. So I think that is one of the messages we want to get out there. The other thing is we need to balance development, whether it is market rate or affordable housing. For example, right now, Madison is in a way penalized for having dedicated open space. We've taken this a priority to protect our aquifer by having open space, even to the extent of we bought land in a neighboring town to create the MRC. That created a housing obligation for us, because if you have more than 3% of your land is open space, you're going to have obligation created by the rest. We need to protect our open space. That number needs to go up. So there's a lot of things along those lines that we need to work on, and as a team, we can make it happen.
Mayor, I just also want to point out the great work that you and Ray and Jim and other members of the council did before this legislation got rammed through. Each of us were kind of going back and forth on a daily basis. You and Ray making calls to our friends in the state legislature and other administrators and other mayors, advocating for our position, and that position unfortunately wasn't heard. But it was not for a lack of trying for a lot of folks sitting up here tonight. So I just want to make sure that that is expressed.
Thank you for sharing that. Any other comments? All right. Again, this resolution is part of our consent agenda, and we will not read it again in the consent. So thank you all. All right, there are no ordinances for hearing, so now we move on to our second for invitations for public comment. This is when you may comment on any topic. The rules, again, try to keep your comments to 3 minutes, but we will give you a 1-minute grace and stop you at 4 minutes. When you come up to the lectern, state your name, your address, write the same on the clipboard, and then the timer will start. Any comments that generate questions, what we do is we capture those questions and we will answer those at the end of the comment period. And I think that pretty much covers it. And we also always have the decorum of trying not to applaud on any comments, because the person that gets up that doesn't get applause is hurt. And Mrs. Dodge, who is right behind me, said she wants the utmost decorum in our council chambers. So, Mark, welcome.
Good evening. Bark Lab 50 Kings Road. I am part of the public services that you guys have praised tonight. Good evening. I want to start off tonight by letting you know that we are not here tonight by choice. We did not want negotiations to resort to this. We are here tonight because Ray Cody and Jim Burnett decided that we weren't worthy of their time, and they felt that they were under no obligation to allow the SOA, which is the Superior Officers Association, to present their offer. They kicked us out of a meeting that lasted all about 5 minutes. We are here because of Jim Burnett and Ray Cody not allowing us 5 minutes to present our case. Therefore, we decided to do it in public forum. Ray and James took almost every union through mediation or arbitration and were unable to settle contracts on their own. Each and every one of you in council sat back quietly and let these men do damage that will take years to repair. You are first to post an employee appreciation photo, yet it doesn't appear that you are affected by what happens to these employees. You sit here and ignore the fact that a 20-year public works employee recently left the Rose City. A 10-year electrical department employee left the Rose City. A young fireman just left the Rose City. 6 police officers just recently left the Rose City. When the PBA settled their contract through arbitration, the ink had not even dried and a press release was issued. Did you know that your CFO dangled a number in front of our faces so the union would settle? That number was so good, everyone felt accomplished. It was so good that we were willing to praise Ray and Jim for doing the right thing. When it was time to sign, Jim apologized for his math being off, but the number was no longer feasible. To Jim and Ray, or at least to us, that appeared planned all along. What has happened to the PBA is something we will never recover from. You allowed Ray and Jim to cause the biggest recruitment and retention challenge to ever hit this agency. No, we have not recovered. No, we will not recover anytime soon. You not once reached out a hand to try to come to a resolution for the PBA during these contract negotiations. You see, you have 2 hires in the academy right now. Did you know that their employment was at jeopardy because of Jim and Ray? Jim and Ray thought we'd be paying them too much. They try to negotiate their salary. Have you ever wondered why you don't have recruits knocking on the door to work here in the Rose City? It's about time you should. I can and never will comprehend how you sat back and allowed a legal bill to have a blank checkbook for mediation and arbitration over compensation. I'll never forget what your borough attorney said, Mr. Jacoby. There's only 2 people who prevailed during arbitration, you and our attorney Stu. With a client like the Borough of Madison, I take my hat off to you, Mr. Jacoby. When a resident petitioned for a pickleball court, when a resident wanted help saving the Drew Forest, and we support the Drew Forest.
But he's got 1 minute. He's got 1 minute.
When somebody wanted to build a dog park or update the borough walking trails, you made it happen, and rightfully so. When your residents did not want a medical marijuana dispensary, you went above and beyond to make sure it did not happen. But when those tasked with protecting and serving every single one of you wanted fair and equal pay for contributing to making this town the best place to live in New Jersey, you were and still are silent. When I emailed you all last year, not a single one of you could have the decency to reply. When I invited you to PBA meetings to meet the new officers we have hired, none of you found the time. Those 6 officers are gone. None of you can sit here, hold your head up high, and say that the members of the PBA are a priority to this town. Here we are again, sitting in silence as history repeats itself. As our police structure keeps getting slimmer and slimmer, we are the only ones that are required to do more with less. Compensation is not even on the table. When a $6,000 stipend was given to your communications director because Zoom became a temporary thing, don't remember it being an issue. The communications director...
That's time.
Absorb.
No. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, everyone, we ask that you try to stay to 3. We give you 1 minute grace and stop you at 4.
All right, so Mike Clancy, PBA president, Local 92, 50 Kings Road, as many of you know here. That Zoom stipend, picking up from where Park Lab left off, that Zoom stipend could have been there for 3, could have given 3 of your 5 sergeants the $2,500 Ray says he doesn't have to compensate us for 2022. Just recently, you gave a $3,000 stipend for someone assuming an additional duty processing permits. You had no problem compensating that person for taking on an additional task. Jim forgets that in 2015, you received a $1,667 per month. That's right, Jim. $1,667 per month stipend that you made sure had the word pensionable in it for assuming additional duties. Where is our stipend when you abolished 2 sergeants' positions? Where is the lieutenant stipend when you abolished another lieutenant's position? Are you going to give a stipend to whoever absorbs the abolished captain's position as well? Why should we do more with less, but others are well compensated for doing more than they were tasked with? And yes, you, mayor and council, voted for all these stipends. Yet you allow this man to veto every single stipend when it comes to us. Everyone gets a stipend when they are tasked with more. Everyone, just not the men and women of this police administration. Last week, you promoted a fire lieutenant to captain, yet you want to abolish our captain's position. What are you doing here? You're secretly supporting Cody defund the police movement? You silently let Ray make decisions that have diminished this agency. Each step you take is not for the better, but for the worse. I never thought that the Borough of Madison, one of the safest communities in the state, would ever face a defund the police movement. When Ray wanted to put a camera in every corner of every building and even inside of the public work garage, you gave him the $1 million to do so. You even helped yourself take $100,000 from our police car fund. You again voted and gave Ray what he needed. For the last 5 years, the PBA has asked Cody to be transparent when he posts all of our salaries to the public to see. Every year his reply was, "We shall see." Today I finally understood why. If he was transparent in posting our salaries, he would know that his lucrative compensation package would come to light. Ray prepared for this day years ahead. On paper, we are all well compensated. In reality, as Ray sits back and enjoys his $200,000 a year salary for working his 2,080 hours a year, each and every one of us have to do our part to fill the mandated overtime because we can't operate at more than 28 officers. Ray won't show you how much forced overtime is part of our lucrative compensation package. I was told that the mayor and council can't understand why our attorney has not communicated with Mr. Giacobbe for the last 5 weeks. I am glad that after 27 months of communications,
1 minute.
a 5-week pause caught your eye. 27 months, mayor and council, 27 months is how long we have been without a contract. Yet the last 5 weeks is all you were worried about. Last year, when 3 officers were hospitalized after fighting with a combatant suspect, one of which was myself, you were nowhere to be found. When an officer was assaulted during a bank fraud investigation, you were nowhere to be found. When we saved the life of a man whose throat was cut open during a fight, you were nowhere to be found. Corporal Jimenez, Patrolman Finicario, encountered a 15-year-old male who pulled a knife on them because he said he wanted to die. I don't think you care or realize what these men and women have to do to be able to go home each and every night. You have demonstrated that you could not care less. We are not compensated according to our neighbors. But Ray makes sure he is on par with other administrators. My squad encountered, that's Park Labs, encountered a barricaded man who was armed with a gun, and not a single one of you can even understand what that was like.
And thank you for your comments.
If Ray and Jim could find a way to outsource...
Hold a second. Name and address, please.
Jack O'Donnell, 78 Burn Street. If Ray and Jim could find a way to outsource us for the lowest bid possible, as it stands, you'd probably support his decision as another step forward towards the defunding of this agency. I remind you, Mayor and Council, Ray and Jim work for you. You don't work for Ray and Jim. Do not be afraid to disagree with Ray. This is not the borough of Ray and Cody. This is the borough of Madison, the Rose City. The residents of this town elected each and every one of you. They did not elect Jim and Ray, they elected you. You have 90 days to make this right. You have 90 days to show the public you do not stand behind the defund the police movement as it is happening here in the Rose City. Please put the Rose City back on its stem, and let's focus on what's important here, and that is the residents and that we proudly protect and serve day in and day out. I look forward to seeing you at the next council meeting and updating the residents of this step in the right direction.
Again, we ask to hold the applause. Anyone else wishing to comment, please step forward.
Good evening. Stuart Alterman, 8 South Maple Avenue, Marlton, New Jersey, 11 Muller Place, Little Falls, New Jersey. It's a pleasure to appear before you, and it's actually a pleasure to appear in this room. For as many times as I've been in the building, I've never walked into this room before, and it's really very beautiful. Kudos to you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for keeping the room up and making it a beautiful showcase. Also, Jim, kudos to you for your presentation tonight. It demonstrates that you certainly have the money in order to facilitate contracts, the public safety contracts. in order to adequately and sufficiently pay these police officers that have been without a contract for 27 months. Most importantly is the fact that you manage the money very, very well, and some of that money needs to be spent on public safety. You've heard the word defund the police department. It's a scary thing because we're living in a day and an age when public safety is jeopardized. We're living in a day and an age when we don't have enough police officers. We're living in a day and an age that we can't find police officers. Nobody wants to be a cop today. Why? Because of everything that's happening around us and bad compensation packages. The cops feel as though that they have no support. The cops feel as though that their managers are not supporting them. In other words, they don't have their backs. We're asking you, Mr. Mayor, to have the backs of your police officers. We're asking you, Mr. Mayor, to listen to the pleas of the police officers that stood up here and spoke tonight. We're asking you, Mr. Mayor, to speak to the council people, and we're asking you, council persons, to please consider the request of the police officers that spoke tonight and provide them a compensation package that is adequate and sufficient so that they too can live in their homes, buy a car, have a family, feed their families, and live like normal human beings. And provide them with the respect for what they do, because what they do is not what we do. What we do is we go home at night. We sit on our couch and we watch our TVs. We turn on our 96-inch television with the surround sound, and we think everything's lovely. While these police officers are out making sure that nobody's breaking into your house while you're watching your 96-inch TV and stealing it out from under you. That's what these police officers do. So their job is much different from any other job. The statute that provides for interest arbitration in what we're in right now says that public safety, that police officers are in a unique profession. They have to be treated uniquely. They have to be treated differently from those individuals in other professions. Whether as an attorney, I don't know what you all do as council people. Thank you. But they have to be treated uniquely. Uniquely treat them. Treat them well. Reward them for what they do. Reward them for making sure your streets are safe. Lest you treat them well, they will not be here, and public safety will degrade significantly. Public safety at this point is in jeopardy. Let's reverse that trend. Thank you very much.
Alan Spatola, 6 Rose Ave, Madison. I just want to come tonight because I think it's a shame that these officers have to come here and talk like this. This should never happen in a town like Madison. The resources are here. It's just a matter of how you allocate the resources. And I hear that through their negotiations, I've heard certain names mentioned. If the people that are negotiating with our officers are not getting the job done, or if there's some kind of hidden animosity that maybe as a regular citizen I'm not aware of, then perhaps the mayor and council need to look into that and find a way for these men in our town to negotiate a fair amount of money for these people to be paid. If we look at current surrounding towns, my understanding is that Madison is in the middle to low end of compensation. This is very important. It's government's main job. You're the government in this town. The main job of government is to protect the citizenry. And God knows with the way things have happened in this country lately, we need the protection of the police more than ever. These people are giving their time, sacrificing. You could say that's part of their job. It is part of their job. That's what they signed up for. But they didn't sign up to be shortchanged. So if we can treat other officers in other towns to fair compensation, there's no reason why these people, our police officers who we're extremely proud of, I think you were proud of them too. But this is not a game. This is not to see how little we can pay these people. That's not right. What we should be doing is looking at them and comparing them to neighboring places and saying, what are they paying? What are we paying? And it should be a fair wage. and they should never have to come to a forum like this to express themselves. It's very disappointing to see that happen. So if in the negotiations, the people that are negotiating with these men and women can't get the job done, please, Mayor and Council, step forward, look into this, find out why this is happening. Because we have money for other things. So let's look at something that's very important. Remember, your main job is protecting the citizenry, and these are the people that are going to do it. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to comment, please step forward.
Hi, my name's Peter James DeRosa, 37 Pine Avenue. My family's been in this town over 118 years, okay? We have no money to pay them, but we have $60,000 to buy an electric lawnmower. Yes, now he wants to buy an electric bus. You know where electricity comes from? Gas, coal, nuclear. Doesn't come out of the thin air hitting a switch. You think you're going to revolutionize the world. These guys go out every day with a bullseye on their back and their front. And this is how you treat them? It's disgusting. Do the right thing. It's not that difficult. If somebody wanted a pickleball court, you already did it. Okay? It's disgusting what goes on in this town. My son used to work for the town, and he quit because he got tired of getting his balls busted. You bought him a battery backpack blower. It took 3 batteries to do what he had to do. You got to buy a charging station. You got to do this. You got to do that. Nobody looks at the big picture. Everybody looks, I want to make a name for myself and then beat feet. It's wrong. Madison's 4.2 square miles. We have 2.5 secretaries working in the DPW. We have a foreman working down there. Why, if you have such good people, why do you have to have all these people watching each other? And then you put cameras in the break rooms? Really? We got Big Brother watching. We don't need Little Brother. If that's the case, then you don't trust the employees. Every corner you go on, you got cameras. It's disgusting what's going on in this town. We have people that bitch, moan, and groan. We need more garbage cans down at the DPW, at all the fields. People are lazy. I've seen it. Their dog will take a shit, they'll pick it up and put it on top of the garbage can. How is that offensive? We all do it. Everybody poops. Everybody reads that book when you're a kid. Okay? That's a bad word? What? Shit's a bad word? I didn't know that. Sorry. But, you know, I'm also a vet, too, if that'll help you. I'm also an Eagle Scout. I'm hanging on that wall inside. But what's going on in here is not a good thing. Wake up. You get to go home 9 to 5. These guys got to work overtime. When the weather's bad outside, they're out there doing it. They're going from 0 to 60. I know, you're looking at the clock. I'm just about done. Have a good night. But just remember, when your shit hits the fan, those are the guys that you call. They're the first ones on the scene.
Anyone else wishing to comment on any topic, please step forward.
Steve Esposito, 5 DeHart Place. So it seems like the council and some of the individuals within it are having an initiative to have this adversarial relationship with the police. I've been a resident since 1997. We never locked our doors, we never locked our cars, and yet now everybody's got ring doorbells. I now have that. They have security systems. They make sure they lock their cars. The town is less safe, right? And I think we all understand that because you guys keep putting out those really effective messages to lock your car and take your key fob with you. That's part of the problem, but realistically what the problem is we don't have enough police, right? They're overworked, they're underappreciated, okay? And the town is less safe as a result of that. One of the officers talked about a couple of the byproducts of that. One is you can't attract new officers here. No one wants to come to a town where the police are known to be underappreciated and underpaid and overworked. So not only do we have a problem currently with the staffing, we're going to have a problem in the future. And this town is building more and more apartments. There's going to be more and more residents. The need for a strong and effective police force is only going to increase. And I don't know the particulars with Ray and Jim, but it sounds like it's pretty adversarial. And I just don't understand why you guys want to have this adversarial relationship with the PBA and the SOA. You have people posting on the Madison area parents page, Facebook page, that they are scared to walk across the street because cars are flying by. And the first thing they ask is maybe shouldn't the police be doing something about it? But when we don't have enough police to do something about it, it's only going to get worse. And if you continue to approve these apartment complexes, it's only going to get worse. So what I'm asking is, can you please negotiate in good faith with the SOA and make our town safer? Hire more police officers, make it more welcoming, make them feel appreciated, so we'll attract other officers and potential officers to come to the town. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to come?
Robert O'Donnell, 78 Britain Street. Mr. Mayor, I was just listening to you and you were discussing the affordable housing. In the affordable housing, you said that a lot of the other towns are wasting their money in litigation, if I heard you right. I feel that maybe this town is too, I don't know what to say, instead of training these hiring these officers and training them, have them go through training, they go to other towns for more money. For electrical workers who are certified, I think we spent $4,000 plus in certification for these people, firemen as well, and then they leave to go to other towns because they can't make the money that the other towns are paying. And again, I lived in this town, I'm fifth generation, my children are sixth. Never in my life would I ever think that we'd hear this going on in the town of Madison. Like everybody said, these men are out protecting us. They know the people, they communicate with the people. It's just a great group of guys, and to have, hire people, train them. We're not a training facility, and maybe we could cut money in other places instead of wasting it in litigation and other things, and pay these men for what they do. Thank you.
Hi, Katie Zurich. I live at 37 Rosedale, Madison. I'm here tonight because I followed closely the borough's movements and the police department's response as it relates to arbitration. First and foremost, thank you to the men and women who serve and protect us here and everywhere. Police forces allow for communities to exist and thrive safely, ensuring the law is enforced and palpable for all who reside or visit the very towns or municipalities they serve. And I will thank Council and the Borough employees, because you do make Madison services and accessibility to said services and resources possible. I try to see the good in all. Call it naive, but nothing is more powerful and poignant than hope. And so hope I will that there is a better, more protective way for these police officers. My remarks tonight come from the most sacred role I have as a mother. I've lived a lot of places, but this is the best and most beautiful place I've ever lived. And this police force goes above and beyond for families. They are in our schools and on our streets, extending themselves in ways I've never seen or known before. With young children in this town, I see officers educate and empower children through school programs like DARE, encourage safe bicycle riding by issuing what my daughter calls the best ticket in town, a certificate to McCool's. and always stopping at a lemonade stand or providing tours of the stations to the scouts. Special thanks to Madison's Corporal Patrol Aquino, who's been a positive presence in the lives of my 2 daughters. My youngest regularly says that she thinks the job in policing might be in her future, and that inspiration comes to her from seeing a female police officer patrol the streets. It is a mother's dream for her daughter to feel empowered and inspired by another woman in public service. So yes, like many council members have emphasized here tonight, Madison does go above and beyond. And no department goes more above and beyond for our children and for one another than our police officers. So I hope we find a way to show them our care in a way that meets their needs. I am grateful to all. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to be heard, please step forward. You got, okay. Yeah, if you're towards the back and want to speak, try to work your way up so we, okay, I didn't see you. No, go ahead, someone else is working their way up.
Hi, I'm Patty at 127 Park Avenue, Madison.
What was the name again?
Patty Millen.
Yep.
127 Park Avenue, Madison.
Thank you, Pat.
And I just want to say that I'm really sad that we're all here having to go through this in Madison. I'm a lifetime Madisonian. I'm a dinosaur here in Madison. And the one thing that the hallmark of our town is the way we all feel safe. Our emergency services, our policemen, our fire department, our medics, we all feel safe and secure with them, and we need to take care of them. And we need to make sure that, they grow as we do, as we're growing, because we have more and more Madison. We're growing and growing. We have new apartments coming, new houses. And I just want to say, please, let's take care of our policemen.
Thank you, Matt.
Good evening, Victor Alzate, 171 Park Avenue. I talk.
Sorry, what was the name again?
Victor Alzate. We talk about Spanish people here. I wanted to support a police officer because we understand the last 2 officers lead the department was Spanish, and we really need the Spanish officers here. I understand they leave the department because they find a better contract in another town. So Madison is one of the safety places in New Jersey, so we want to keep like that. We really need the officer here. Thank you.
Thank you. Victor, did you write your name on the clipboard there? We need to cap. Yeah. You can do that while the next person is speaking. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Krista McKenna. I live at 3 Station Road in Madison, New Jersey. Unlike some of the other folks, I'm not a lifelong Madison resident. My husband and I chose Madison out of a number of towns because it was a safe community and had really good school systems. My husband and I are very fortunate that we're both physicians. We both come from union backgrounds. My dad was a union carpenter for many decades, and I myself have had a union background and been involved in collective bargaining agreements. When I've read about what has been happening with the collective bargaining attempts here, having well over 2 years of not having a contract, having meetings, and after 5 minutes, it does look to me like it is not negotiations being done in good faith. And I've been involved in negotiations that were good faith and very average, and ones that were not, and they really do feel different. I was told about the difficulty with the Madison police retention, and that our salaries are much lower than neighboring communities by one of my best friend's husband, who's a police officer and detective in South Jersey. And he told me, you know what's going to happen is people are going to just send out their job resumes, and you're not going to be able to build depth. You're not going to be able to have police officers living in the town that they serve. very much on par with similar towns. It was a contract that was respectful to them and mindful of our budget. All of those things are possible, and I heard to my council and those responsible for negotiations happen. And a big part of that is the police officers. The community policing has been amazing. One of my daughters seriously wants to be a police officer, and a lot of that has to do with the contact she's had with the community policing. Thank you.
Jerry Mantone, 1 Highland Avenue. I'm a retired officer from Madison PD, 36 years. I'm 3rd generation, 4th generation is in the building. My family's in the 91st year of law enforcement in this town, and I am the creator of the SOA. The reason nobody in this room was involved at the time of the creation of the Superior Officers Association, but let me tell you why it was created. There was 3 of us, a 25-year lieutenant veteran, a 28-year lieutenant veteran, and myself, a 12-year veteran lieutenant. We got 3 checks dropped in our mailbox. They were for $1,400 that said bonus on it. One was to a captain also. We went to council and said, well, we went to Jim Allison and said, what is this? He goes, it's your raise, 4 days before Christmas. Okay, well, bonuses aren't applicable to pension, and it comes out to $1.45 a day. Can we talk? We met with 2 council people. That was it. They didn't want to go any further. All we said is give us the same raise as the PBA and the sergeants. That's all we asked for, and give us time for hour on parades and events. That was it. That's not that big of a package for a town that has its own electrical, sells its own electrical and its own water. In Jim's presentation, looks like we're a pretty solid town. Probably the best in the state. So we filed with Perk. Chief was mad at me, Chief Cluck, for about a week. And I didn't tell him we filed. He got it in the mail. Okay, just like we got it in our mailbox. There was nothing against him personally. But after a week, he agreed with it. We got a nice contract through that negotiation, and that was 35 years ago. However, it's time after time after time. We should not be in arbitration with police officers. 2.5 years for patrolmen, guys leaving the department, and now we got 1 captain, 2 lieutenants, and 5 sergeants. And now we're heading to arbitration again. And by the way, I was on the interview board hiring every one of those guys. Nobody, other towns do what we do in this town. From Hoboken to Dover, we're the only town that meets every income trainer from 11:15, besides being busy, okay? Sergeant Bart, I'm real proud you came here tonight. That took a lot of guts for him to come here. And it had to come to this point, because negotiations are becoming too emotional and too personal. They should be all business. When there was a business deal in here a few years ago, and they were dismissing Ray Cody without you knowing, Bob, okay? We went to the church the next week. There was a statement said. It still rings in my ears. And it's not copyrighted, because I asked the person today if it was copyrighted.
One minute, Jerry.
We do not do business like this in Madison. That was the first statement made when Ray was having his difficulties on negotiations, when he was unfairly treated. So I end by saying, this is not the way we do business with the police department in our town.
Thank you, Jerry. Jerry, if you could write your name on the clipboard too, sorry.
Mike Piano, Lathrop Avenue. I'm a 4th generation resident of this town. And some of the things I'm hearing today, the way the employees are being treated, is an absolute disgrace. 38 years in electric utility, the last 19 I was a superintendent. I hired most of the young men that have I thought was going to be the future of the electric utility. And when I hear that during the course of negotiations they were told, if you don't like it, go somewhere else. That's one of the men that this gentleman was talking about, the left. That's a terrible attitude to have to your employees. I see you people sitting up here patting each other on the back about, oh, we're keeping the taxes right and this is going to be perfect. You're forcing the people who've been in this town for generations to leave. They can't afford to live here anymore. You want to balance? Stop all your pet projects. Waverly Place is an unnecessary waste of money. Don't balance it on the backs of the employees.
Anyone else wishing to be heard, please step forward on any topic. Seeing none, I close this part of the meeting. And we'll, just a few comments. First of all, I'll just say very brief words, and I'll ask our attorney to bring some updates so everyone understands what is going on. But I appreciate everyone coming out. During contract negotiation times, it is very difficult, and I'm not going to go into details on the difficulty with it, but to see the appreciation for our police force, those that work for our town, is felt by these up here. I know at this time you feel like this is an adversarial position, but together we all make this such a great town, and I appreciate everything the police do on a daily basis. And I again thank the residents, not only those that spoke, but those that came in support for the police department. Thank you for taking the time to do it. That's the way government works. Matt Jacoby, if you could share some updates. It's been a while.
It's on now. I heard some, I want to correct the record. So first off, there's no defund the police movement. Whoever's saying that, that's just patently false. Second, please don't interrupt me. I didn't interrupt anyone when they were speaking. Don't interrupt me, please. Second, we did meet with the SOA. We made them an offer. The offer that we made them exceeds what was given to the PBA. They rejected it. There's roll into base pay. There's increases each year. There's percentage raises each year, and they rejected it. But what's incredible about it is when we met with them and Mr. Alterman on December 4th, when we couldn't come to an agreement, I said, why don't we bring in Brian Cronick? Brian Cronick is the arbitrator from the state of New Jersey who helped us forge the deal with the police. I said, why don't we agree to bring in Brian Cronick and speed this along on December 4th? I'll get back to you, is what I was told. Well then, the emails that I sent, let me just tell you what the emails were. I sent an email following the December 4th meeting on December 20th. Can we agree on Brian Cronick to come in? No response. January 3rd. Stuart, can we agree on Brian Cronick to come in? No response. January 22nd. Same request, no response. February 6th, 5th. Same request, Brian Cronick, no response. February 22nd. Can we agree on Brian Cronick to come in? No response. No email, no phone call, no nothing. Finally, on February 27th, or on the 29th, I sent him an email and said, if you're not going to respond, we're going to have to file arbitration. We waited until March the 7th. So I started this on December the 4th. On March the 7th, I finally filed because I was getting no response for a deal that exceeds the deal that the PBA agreed to. And guess who got appointed by PERC? Brian Cronick. The very arbitrator that I was asking the SOA to agree to back on December the 4th, we now have to wait, and we're meeting with him now on April the 23rd. A simple response could have sped this along. There's no defund the police. When the offer, and I'm not going to reveal the offer, but I can assure you that it's not a paltry offer. It exceeds what the PBA agreed to. So just because parties don't come to an agreement doesn't mean that there's bad faith bargaining going on this side. And frankly, to cast aspersions against Ray Cody and Jim Burnett, that's totally incorrect. Bottom line is, all the other unions throughout the town have settled. The only one that hasn't settled is the SOA.
Sorry, I'm sorry, no comments, please.
So, at the end of the day, we don't yell from the audience. So, the SOA was given an offer. They weren't satisfied with it. They wanted more. But at the end of the day, you saw the property tax levy. It's going up 1.7. The maximum it can go up is 2%. So this governing body and Mr. Cody and Mr. Burnett, they have to craft a budget that fits within the 2% tax levy to be able to do everything else and come up with raises that far exceed 2%. Far exceed 2%. So for folks to come here and say there's a defund the police and they're not negotiating good faith, that's patently false. And frankly, I would suggest that not responding to me from December the 4th, in fact, I've never gotten a response. As we sit here today, the first time Mr. Alterman spoke was this evening. And today is the 25th of March. So from December the 4th to the 25th, no response? How is that good faith bargaining? It takes two parties at a table to bargain. You don't bargain in public. You don't come to public meetings to bargain. You bargain at a table. And the next time we're at the table, it could have been a lot sooner, is April 25th because of the delay by the SOA. So that's to set the record straight. And for anyone to say there's a defund the police movement, that is just patently false. And that's really done to alarm people. And that's not what's happening this time. Never has happened. And frankly, I've been involved in negotiations for many, many years. And at the end of the day, when there's a contract, I don't have 3 minutes. When there's a contract between the PBA and the SOA, guess what? Two parties agree to it. They shake hands. And so that's happened for years and years and years, and you heard Mr. Montone get up and speak from years ago. There's agreements, and that's what bargaining is. But you got to be at the table to bargain. Ignoring emails and ignoring requests to bargain isn't good faith. So thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing that. And again, the key thing there is there's a process to get this to the finish line. So we can have a contract in place, and we can do what makes Madison proud. So thank you again for those that came out. We're going to go on to the rest of the agenda, and won't take it personally if you walk out now, but you're welcome to stay for the rest of the agenda. Thank you again. No, this is not. We don't do negotiations here. You know that, Stuart. So, okay. Yep. Appreciate it. Yep. All right. Thank you, Stuart. Take care.
What's left? Consent agenda.
All right. We move on to introduction of ordinances, which are none. So consent agenda resolutions, will the clerk please read the statement?
Consent agenda resolutions will be enacted with a single motion. Any resolution requiring expenditure supported by a certification of availability of funds. Any resolution requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda. All resolutions will be reflected in the full.
Mayor, I move the consent agenda resolutions 112 to 120, 2024.
Second.
Any discussion or any that need to be pulled? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Range?
Yes.
Mr. Harold Lamputis?
Yes.
Ms. Honahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forte?
Yes.
Right, there is no unfinished business. Approval of vouchers. Will the clerk please read the voucher totals?
Okay. From the current fund, $4,224,031.76. From the general capital fund, $66,820. From the electric operating fund, $383,182.52. From the electric capital fund, $20,236. From the water operating fund, $45,547.31. From the water capital fund, $5,123, and from the trust, $16,228.05. The total is $4,761,168.61.
Mayor, I move approval of the vouchers.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Range?
Yes.
Mr. Harold Lamputis?
Yes.
Ms. Honahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forte?
Yes.
There is no new business. Mr. Forte.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.